Elden Ring Nightreign has tons of interesting noodles baked into it, some of which you might not know. I'm Alex, this is Boomstick Gaming, and let's get into it. When you're near a site of grace when you get down, you can actually ashamedly crawl over to it to revive yourself. You can also draw enemies over within range of a site of grace and continually heal throughout the fight, as long as the enemy doesn't stand directly on it, which temporarily deactivates it. If a spirit stream is right next to a fort, you can use it to launch yourself up onto its roof, which has an opening that drops you directly down into the room with the map. This reveals hidden chests and scarabs on your map. There's a few additional ways you can use Ironeye's marking ability, like using it to extend the distance of your jump. If you're not locked on, you can actually use your movement input to bend the lunge animation. If you're right up on someone, you can immediately hold back when you activate it to hit and actually move backwards instead. Or my personal favorite, quickly press forward and back when activating it to dash forward, mark them, and return right back to where you originally started. Illusory Walls can be discovered in some locations, like the staircase in the ruins that opens up after you hit it. These will always lead to something good, maybe. Some locations will be affected by large storms that will be spotted above them, or on the map you'll see they have a circle of influence around them. These are extra difficult areas where NPC invaders will try to assault you. Difference. But these invaders will drop their unique upgraded weapon that they wield, which does not have a level requirement on it like most equipment drops. The Spectral hawks can take you across the map pretty quickly, but if you don't take down nearby giant archers, they can actually snipe you out of midair if you're incredibly unlucky. Sometimes a rare character can be found on the map, and they'll give you the option to take from a few upgrades. This deal also makes it so 2 bosses will spawn in the final circle though, which also means more runes. Instead, you could attack this vendor to spawn a special boss fight. Upon defeat, this will drop a dormant power and a big stack of runes. Big stack of macaroons. Kinda hungry. You can insta-use items without picking them up by holding the top face button plus D-pad up, or H on the keyboard. Hold the top face button and press left or right on the D-pad or T and Y to cycle among nearby multiple items. Hold the top face button and click in the right stick or X on the keyboard to mark the location you're standing or a piece of gear. And you can cycle through your item bar in reverse order by holding the top face button before you press D-pad down. At the end of day 1, you don't have to wait around after the boss for the circle to re-expand before you continue into day 2. If you carefully run out early and hit a site of grace or a church, you can use those to heal and counter the degen. This lets you start traveling across the map and get a head start on day 2. And after you beat the boss of day 2, you don't have to immediately enter the blue goop to exit to the final area. You can kill enemies around this final circle for extra runes, run out to a site of grace and pull enemies back into the circle. Or if you're real brave, you can head out into the degen and try to take down additional bosses that you missed. Keep in mind, if you're out in the degen rain for multiple minutes without resetting back into the circle, the degen will get more and more aggressive. You can use most attacks in the air to rapidly travel downward. It has a slight delay when you land, but from really high drops, this can end up being still faster. These statues with a glow in the middle can be destroyed by Raider's ultimate. Place the totem a little to the side though, so you don't block your own access to the items it reveals. The Executor's ultimate can also be used to break these statues in a similar but more bestial way. Your team can sometimes get ambushed by a boss that'll continually hunt down the party. If beaten, you gain a unique power that'll raise your overall attack damage for each new site of grace you visit. However, if you lose to this boss, you'll receive a wound, and this increases the damage you take for the rest of the run. Ew. You'll sometimes find these massive ding-dongs that you'll definitely recognize if you played the base game of Elden Ring, but here you'll need to scale up one of its legs. In here, you'll be able to duplicate any piece of gear in your inventory if you want to put it maybe in both hands, have double its bonus effect, or just share it with a teammate. Pieces of gear that have a red hand symbol next to their bonus effect need to be actually in one of your 2 hands to trigger. However, you can simply put these into your offhand, then even 2-hand your main weapon and still get the passive effects, like periodic glint blades that spawn off of you, or health regen from attacking. If you're not at your maximum capacity of healing flasks and not in a major boss battle, there's an internal timer always running that provides you with 1 healing flask charge every 1 minute exactly. So if you hear this sound, That's one indication that you just earned back a flask. Use this knowledge during exploration to maybe top off your health bar and earn back that healing flask as you just run around. You don't need to stop to interact with the Site of Grace and level up. Just keep sprinting right by them while pressing interact and tapping accept a few times, which will let you quickly level up without losing any time. Tick-tock, your death is near. Sometimes you'll come across a match modifier that creates large expanding magic bubbles on the map. If you let one of these overtake you, it'll pull you into a fight against a rare boss. This one is especially tricky if you don't have too much range damage or at least some good vertical reach. But if you manage to take this boss down, you'll get a unique power that alters your flask to also restore FP. Good if you're a spellcaster or use your weapon skills a lot. If you happen to find a township on your map, the merchant here has an expanded inventory. Level 2 smithing stones can be found here, talismans, and more pieces of gear than he normally offers. Merchants will always sell gear that is geared towards the weakness of the boss at the end of the run. When playing Recluse, it can actually be useful to use some melee weapons, not just spells, if you come across weapons that deal elemental damage. Hitting once with an elemental melee weapon will mark the target with that element, allowing her to build up a charge for her magic cocktail ability without consuming any FP. This makes for an easy way to create a wider array of magic combinations or build a quick synergy of using all three elements. You can queue matchmaking for more than one boss, and this option will actually select all that you haven't already defeated. Or you can individually select multiple bosses and matchmaking will search for any of them that gets filled the fastest. Something you need to know if you're playing Guardian is that he can block like normal, but he can also dodge while blocking to enter a tankier shield stance. So you can purposely dodge into oncoming attacks with your shield raised to further mitigate the impact and enter this stance. It does somewhat drain your stamina, but the block is much more effective. Don't sleep on your character's Remembrance Quests, which you'll see populate in the journal as you progress. Beginning these remembrances will give you a special task to complete during a match, and it'll net your character a unique relic once finished. This one for Wilder changes his grappling hook to chain into a follow-up that temporarily lights his blade on fire. Assisting other players finish their remembrance objectives rewards the entire team with that rune completion bonus, so it's worth being helpful. And last, a little bonus detail, but From Software can be the only ones to figure out a fail state before you even enter a match. While using the matchmaking system, if you're messing around too haphazardly in the hub area and accidentally fall to your death, the matchmaking gets entirely cancelled and you just ultimately failed before you even began. I'm so sorry that one other guy that was in my lobby. Alright, let me know what else you guys figure out in Nightreign, and use the comments to list additional tips, which ideally will make everybody's co-op partners that much better, or at least more knowledgeable. You can also hit me up with questions here in the comments, or other places at Boomstick Alex. And if you haven't seen it yet, also check out my starter guide for Nightreign that I just published recently. That breaks down some other important mechanics and explains how to generally progress through a successful run. Okay, that's it for me. Thanks for watching Boomstick Gaming, and good luck.
Jolly cooperation. This is how every From Software character speaks in my brain.